Want to watch football without the restrictions of blackouts or cable? Check out expressvpn.com to help you get access to all the live games. Sign up today using the link in the description to get 3 free months. Yo, that Bolt fam, it's the director. Chargers fans, how we feeling, man? A couple days removed for the NFL draft, right? The hype is still real. The optimism is still real. And it really feels like we're starting to get an understanding of what the Chargers are trying to do, right? As we see this roster come together and better understand the possibilities, it feels like the optimism is certainly growing among the fan base. And wow, man, I mean, here's a look at the team so far, right? It looks absolutely so impressive. Wow, look at that offensive line. From left to right, this may be one of the most impressive offensive lines I've ever seen as a Chargers fan. Sure, there's a little bit of concern there at right tackle, but I do think there's options on the roster as well as in free agency. But the weapons look solid, man. Of course, you got Keenan and Mike Williams, and you got nice power coming into the backfield there with Xander Horvath and Isaiah Spiller. I love what the Chargers are doing. Of course, on defense as well, take a look at this, man. The biggest thing I wanted from the draft was depth, and the Chargers did get that. A couple standout guys there in JT Woods and Atito Ogbanya, man. Like, it really does feel like this Chargers team is starting to take shape, and just seeing it kind of all put together really does get me excited. But it does not stop there, man. Every single season, something happens under the radar that sometimes takes us by surprise later on in the year, right? And it's something that the Chargers, for some reason, are just so very good at doing. And this is signing undrafted free agents, right? From Antonio Gates to Malcolm Floyd to the now Austin Eckler, the starting running back for this team. The Chargers just know how to get it done. So will one of these guys end up being a future Hall of Famer? Maybe, likely not, but they could contribute in terms of backup spots. They could contribute in terms of, developing into a starter later down the road. You never know. So, and every year I try to go over these guys separate from like the draft class, like grade videos, just kind of give us a good idea of what the Chargers have done. If you guys haven't watched my grades video, definitely check it out. It's a really, really good one. Really brings everything together. So we got a lot of players to go over, guys. Before we do get started, question in the comments like we always do. Of all these undrafted free agents, who do you hope makes the roster as a potential gem? Okay, I'll give you guys my top dudes at the end of the video as well. Before we do get started, hit us up with a like and sub if you do enjoy this Chargers content. Small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, and bell notification helps me out a lot. Let's get into this one. Lights, camera, action. My undrafted free agents grades video for the Chargers here in 2022. We're going to actually just jump right into it, man. A lot of players to go over. Don't want this video to be overly long, but it should be a good one. Let's start off here with Trevon Bradford, wide receiver out of Oregon State. Put up some good numbers, 151 receptions, almost 2,000 yards, 14 touchdowns. He also did get some time as a returner. He logged 263 yards and 66 on 26 returns. Looks pretty nice, right? But the NFL really does look for something very specific in terms of wide receiver nowadays, right? They want him tall, they want him fast, they want the ability to block out their defender to get those 50-50 balls. Trevon Bradford is not that. He's 5'9", kind of reminds me a little bit maybe of a lankier Michael Bandy, who's a current backup wide receiver on this roster. Not too bad, but he does have some upside, right? He projects best from the slot with decent speed and deep threat potential. Of course, he didn't run the craziest 40 time, but at the same time, it does look like he could contribute in the deep parts of the field as well, as he does have good tracking and hands. Of all the wide receivers available, I get it. Going into the undrafted free agent portion, like immediately right after round 7, there were some names that we were certainly excited for the Chargers to potentially sign. Of course, probably the biggest one being Kevin Austin, right? And he ended up going to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Chargers want size. Chargers want speed. But I do think that Trevon Bradford does kind of fit what the Chargers are looking for in terms of a depth wide receiver. I still think the Chargers have more work to do in adding another speed wideout. Trevon Bradford has an okay shot at maybe making a backup or a practice squad spot, but it's okay. It's not a bad signing. You just kind of wish we would find something more, specific to the Chargers' needs in terms of like that difference-making speed. So I'm going to give this a grade of a B-. Not too bad, not too great, but one that definitely kind of makes sense for what the Chargers are trying to do. And keep in mind, as we're going through all these prospects, guys, the Chargers saw something in these dudes. All of these undrafted free agents were signed within, like an hour after the NFL NFL draft. So they already had their eye on these dudes, and they signed them for a reason. So each one of them, just for that specific reason, carries a little bit of upside with me, okay? Next up, let's talk a little bit about Letty Brown, running back out of West Virginia, right? A standout at West Virginia, right? Brown made the 2020s, all Big 12 first team with 1,000 yards in that season. And then he backed it up with another 1,000-yard season in 2021. There's a lot that actually I like about this dude. He's got good vision, great power. He's very hard to take down. There's a lot of plays where, he's often carrying defenders on his back before going down. I like it, man. The Chargers are starting to mix things up a little bit in terms of these, maybe you can consider them power backs, right, on the lower parts of their roster. And Letty Brown is definitely a guy for me that does stand out, right? A similar archetype to Isaiah Spiller, 6 feet tall, 213 pounds, decent pass catching upside, but maybe a little bit slower. So the Chargers are really aggressively trying to attack an area of the field, or trying to attack a specific thing in short yardage, right? By adding Isaiah Spiller, Letty Brown, an undrafted free agent as well. It's very apparent what they want to do. And the Chargers may be looking to keep these power backs in their back pocket, right? So of the undrafted free agents, I did see there's a very limited tape on all these guys, dude. And this is, when I say tape, I mean looking online for any sort of evidence of what kind of player they are. But of all the undrafted free agents, I really do like what I see from Letty Brown. He's got a legitimate shot, in my opinion, to make this team maybe as a backup at some point. You never know. So I'm going to give this a grade of an A. I actually do really like this signing, and I do think it makes sense with what the Chargers are doing. The biggest question is, how many running backs are they going to roster? I think Joshua Kelly might be going out the door, and maybe a guy like Letty Brown could challenge a Larry Roundtree for that spot as well. You never know. So not a bad signing there by the Chargers. Letty Brown's going to have a grade of an A. Very nice signing right there. Next up, spoiler alert, I do like this signing. We got Eric Kroman, tight end out of Southern California. Kroman, dudes, when you take a look at maybe his production, right? He logged 335 yards, 3 touchdowns on 39 receptions. Maybe you're not too like, wow, this guy's an amazing tight end. But I still do think that's decent production, for such few receptions. On the other side of it, though, Kroman is a blocking tight end, right? And he is definitely built like one. 6'5", 245 pounds. He's going to bring to the table what maybe only one other tight end in the Chargers, roster right now does specifically, and that's, again, contributing as a blocking tight end. Trey McKitty being the one on the roster that handles most of those duties as of right now. He's a very involved blocker at the position, man, and honestly, he looked pretty good to me. In terms of a blocking tight end, again, I do love this signing. The Chargers are, again, they're stacking their chips and improving their power run game, adding more blockers, on each side with those tight ends, being able to open up more possibilities in those formations featuring a power run sort of scheme. I like it a lot, man. He's big, he's strong, he's very, very willing, and I do think he has more room to even pack on more muscle, get some more power and strength on there. So the Chargers adding a blocking tight end, undrafted free agent, who I think does have some upside. Maybe he's got a good shot at making the rosters like tight end 4, behind Trey McKitty, to add more options to that tight end room in terms of blocking. So Kroman, I like this guy a lot, dude. I'm going to give this one a grade of an A+. I know it all seems very optimistic. Hey, director, what are we doing? But Kroman is definitely one of those guys that gets me excited. He adds something to this team that the team probably kind of needs going into the 2022 season. So an A+ for me right there, man. That's big props to the tight end Aaron Kroman. Next up, we've got Raheem Lane, safety out of Indiana. A versatile defensive back who plays corner, plays safety. Kind of feels like the Staley special as of late, right? Brandon Staley loves him some very versatile defensive backs, and it feels like pretty much every signing at DB this season, whether it be in free agency, whether it be through the draft, has offered some form of versatility. Even J.C. Jackson, who can play outside and inside, Raheem Lane does carry some of those traits as well. He plays with patience and contributes very well versus the run from the safety position. He's not bad, right? He's solid in tackling. He's very physical. Maybe, this carries some, nice traits for the Chargers special teams if they wanted to make another add there. But I will say he does struggle in coverage and doesn't have the best speed in the world. So, but you never know. The Chargers, they can't have too many DBs. Maybe he shows some stuff in camp that we like. He's not bad, but maybe makes, I'll say, the practice squad at this point. So Raheem Lane, I'm going to give a grade of a C-. He is versatile. He does carry some of those traits that I like, but maybe needs to work on his coverage and a little bit more on what he can contribute there. So C- for me for Raheem Lane. Next up, the Chargers are going to grab themselves a linebacker via Rutgers. We got ourselves here Tariq Maddix Williams. Now, Tariq, this guy's another testament of what the Chargers' desires are in terms of linebacker, right? Pass coverage upside. He's got decent size, 6'2". He's not bad in speed, not the greatest either. But Williams, something that really does stand out that's going to be very valuable to any team from this position, especially when you're looking for coverage guys. And Williams got, really good instincts in coverage over the middle. And that's something that, again, very hard to teach and something that you can work with in terms of cleaning up other areas of their game. He is a clean tackler. He's got good pursuit. He's also very intelligent, able to read the quarterback. There's a lot of things to like about Tariq Maddix. He's not terrible versus the run either, right? Quick to read and attack. I just like a lot of things about Tariq. Again, I'm not going to say the poor man's Kaiser White, because Kaiser is definitely something special at the position, but you can kind of see a little bit of similarities in the way that maybe the Chargers could use this guy. He needs guidance, especially in pass rushing and converting his power, but the guy is a solid undrafted free agent signing, in my opinion. Again, the Chargers last season loved Amin Agbanbaniga, in run defending. I think they're going to love this guy in terms of his pass coverage. So two maybe, undrafted guys making the roster certainly does seem like maybe a stretch, but they offer very different things, right? So I do think that Tariq Maddix Williams has a very good shot at making the roster because he fits what this team wants, what this team needs, and what this team honestly might be finding a value in via undrafted guys this season. So I'm going to give this signing a grade of an A. I think Maddix Williams has a good shot at making the roster this season as a backup, and maybe at minimum for me, a practice squad guy. I like this guy quite a bit. Next up, the Chargers adding a running back via Buffalo, another running back in undrafted free agency. We're going to get ourselves Kevin Marks Jr. out of Buffalo, right? This guy, I think, complimented Jarrett Patterson, who is now a member of the Washington Commanders in his time in Buffalo. That is when he started. 3,000 career rushing yards with 33 touchdowns. The dude's got some stuff to like, right? He's another similar running back to Isaiah Spiller. Again, kind of an archetype that the Chargers have been loading up on as of late. Big, powerful, got some strength, decent, upside in running between the tackles. I like that, man. And again, it's another testament to what the Chargers are trying to do on the ground. Kevin Marks got decent speed, 4.52, decent size, 6 foot, 205 pounds. He's got some nice burst, but he does suffer in pass protection as well as his ball carrier vision. And as of course we know, when it comes to backup running backs, I do think teams really do value what they can offer in protecting their quarterback as well. Still, he's got some nice traits to work with, and I do think there's a shot that maybe he could make the practice squad, but the Chargers do have just so many running backs to choose from at this point, even just among the guys on the roster right now, with Austin Eckler, Isaiah Spiller, you got you got Joshua Kelly, then Larry Roundtree. It's going to be interesting how they shuffle these guys around in terms of what they really want in their depth running backs. So who knows with Kevin Marks, but definitely not a bad ad right there. I'm going to give this one a grade of a C. Between Kevin Marks and the previous running back, Letty Brown, I think Letty Brown has a much better shot at making the roster as a backup or even on the practice squad, okay? Next up, the Chargers are going to be adding a kicker to the conversation in James McCourt out of Illinois. Not much to see here, right? The Chargers are likely working him out as maybe an in camp, like as a off-roster backup, right? Like if something were to happen to Dustin Hopkins, if he's absent at any point in the season, maybe this is the guy that you want to bring in and just kind of test things out, see if he's the one that you want to bring in an emergency situation. Still, McCourt hit 37 of 52 kicks, 8 for 50-plus yards. He's got potential, but again, maybe more of a contingency plan for the Chargers. So I don't even know what to grade this one. Like maybe a C? You never know. Okay, so maybe the Chargers just kind of getting their ducks in a row. Speaking of which, next up we got another quarterback coming into the conversation, and Brandon Peters out of Boston College. A curious signing, right, as the Chargers already have Chase Daniel and Easton Stick, both of which, of course, we do expect to get the nod before Brandon Peters. But I do think I've seen a strategy kind of like this before with the Chargers. They bring in a guy undrafted, spends a few weeks in camp before departing. Maybe that's kind of the similar strategy here in 2022. Peters is a player. He's not hugely eye-popping, but he is big, 6'5", and decently athletic. The only thing I can think of is maybe the Chargers are looking for somebody a bit closer to Justin Herbert's archetype in terms of size and speed, but he definitely doesn't have the other things Justin Herbert has. He doesn't have a top-level arm, doesn't push the ball down the field very often, and can sometimes get a little bit skittish, leaving the pocket a bit early. But that does speak that he does have maybe a little bit to offer in terms of athleticism. Still, 3,400 career passing yards, 28 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Some potential, but ultimately maybe just a camp body for the Chargers. So I'm going to give this one a grade of D. Not really a big need out here, but maybe just adding a little bit more competition in the quarterback room over the offseason. Next up, we got a guy that actually kind of gets me a little bit excited, right? We got Shelby, number 44, right there on the screen. Outside linebacker or edge out of Louisiana Monroe, okay? And again, I like this guy. 6'4", 250 pounds, and he can move. I think, in terms of speed from the position, you're not looking for like a sub 4'4" guy, unless your name is Amari Barno, right? At this point, Shelby offering what I think it was in the 4.6s. Decent speed for the position, but his shiftiness was quite nice, man. He's slippery. He's got some moves on the inside, and I really do like that quite a bit. 146 tackles, 25 tackles for loss, 12 sacks, and a forced fumble. He had really decent production at the college level, and the dude is a big fan, of course, of Joey Bosa. That's one of the things I read in articles this morning. The dude's a big fan of Joey Bosa and crafts his game around Bosa, and I'm sure that Shelby's going to have a lot to learn in playing on the same team with his NFL idol. He's going to soak up a lot of guidance, any guidance that he can get from Bosa while with his time on the Chargers. And I do really think he fits what the team is looking for in terms of a backup, right? That backup spot is kind of wide open, right? We got Chris Rumpf and a couple other guys out there that could compete for the spot, but Shelby does kind of fit the mold of what we're looking for. If anything, I think he's got a great shot at making the practice squad. I like Shelby quite a bit. I'm going to give this one a grade of a B+, for Shelby. Next up, we got another tight end signing, this time via a man named that goes by the name of Stone Smart. Stone Smart, tight end out of Old Dominion. Now, this guy played quarterback. This guy played wide receiver. Now he's made the shift to tight end. Maybe a little bit of a limited production in the tight end standpoint, but still a 6'4" player with a nice receiving experience is what we'll call it. There's not too much on Smart online. I'm going to be pretty honest about that. I think maybe it's because he moved around a lot in terms of positions, but he seems pretty big and athletic to me. And the tight end room is definitely competitive, with Everett and Parham and McKitty, and of course, the big guy that I loved a little bit earlier in the video in Kroman. But at the same time, I just don't know, man. Out of the tight ends right now, I think Stone Smart might be at the bottom of my list. But still, he provides a nice camp addition, maybe with some practice squad upside. You never know. So I'm going to give this one a grade of a C. Next up, the Chargers did sign Skyler Thomas, another safety, this time out of Liberty. This is going to be another versatile defensive back. Shocker, shocker, right? He can play inside, outside, corner. The Brandon Staley special. He does have he does have nice speed and an eye for the football. He logged 8 interceptions, returning 2 of them for touchdowns. He's also physical, forcing 2 fumbles and logging 207 tackles. Now, the biggest thing, again, I think that's maybe holding him back is that he is a tad smaller, right? 5'10", but he does play pretty big in terms of physicality, right? And I do think this is another move that makes sense to what the Chargers are trying to do in terms of depth of their safety, their defensive backs, right? JT Woods, that signing in the 3rd round of the Chargers draft, he looks like a great guy to back up Derwin James. Those guys share a lot of similar things outside of maybe play a little closer to the line of scrimmage. But Thomas to me looks like a more physical, maybe Nasir Adderley, right at the free safety position. Now Nasir is without a doubt a better player. Of course, he's going to be your starter. But I like the upside of Thomas as far as bringing in help from the backup spot and maybe on the practice squad. So I'm going to give Skyler Thomas a grade of a B+. I actually do like this one quite a bit. He's a little bit smaller, but the dude plays very, very physical, and that's something that you love to see from your safety position, who is also a very versatile DB playing inside, outside, and corner. Next up, we got our first offensive lineman, and Andrew Traynor, tackle out of William and Mary, a big left tackle at a WNM. And he's got, size, he's got strength, starting 23 games at left tackle for WNM, but he's also played some tight end, and that does speak maybe for his athleticism and maybe making a case as a scheme fit for the Chargers as a backup tackle, maybe even a swing tackle. At this point, we've heard a lot about Trey Pipkins' improvement over the last season, so I will expect Trey Pipkins to be the Chargers swing tackle going into the system, but Andrew Traynor's actually not a bad guy to add via undrafted free agency. I think he could legitimately challenge for a practice squad or maybe even backup role when all things are said and done. So I'm going to give this one a grade of a B. Offensive lineman can never have too many, especially before going into the season. Another offensive lineman, Isaac Weaver, was another signing by the Chargers. Center out of Old Dominion. And this guy, again, another big-bodied, offensive lineman. Weaver's, 6'6", 310 pounds. And he showed flashes, right? He's very versatile, playing every single position on that offensive line. Are you guys seeing a trend here? This is something definitely the Chargers are starting to become known for this season. But he does project best at center. He does have room to add more strength even. I do feel like maybe in the NFL strength program, he could add on a little bit more bulk and maybe a little bit more power to that line at the center position. But the measurables, he's got maybe do develop into a backup center potential in Isaac Weaver. Still, the Chargers did just recently sign Will Clapp. I will add one of the best names in NFL history. And that was a decent signing, right? So I don't expect Weaver to challenge him. But again, I view Isaac Weaver as a decent practice squad candidate. He wouldn't be too bad. I'm going to give that one a grade of a B+. If I missed the Andrew Traynor, I gave that one a grade of a B, by the way. So offensive lineman, never bad to have too many. And then finally, the last signing here is going to be Brandon Sebastian, cornerback out of Boston College. This one is pretty decent, right? A tall corner, 6 feet tall, but maybe he does lack a little bit of speed. I think he ran a 4.6 something, okay? But he had great production at Rutgers. 141 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, and a sack with 29 pass breakups and 8 interceptions. He looked pretty nice, man. He looked great despite his speed is what I'm trying to say. And I think some people are adding to the fact that, speed and that 40 time doesn't have everything to do with the player himself. You can see a lot of that speed in game. Speed maybe a little bit better than a 4.6. Now, if he can translate these traits, that gave him so much success in terms of, turnovers and pass breakups, kind of closing that gap between him and the receiver. I think he's got a shot at practice squad or as a backup, right? And the upside is there, but his work's going to be cut out for him in overcoming these speed concerns. Still, I like what he has, and I like the kind of archetype that he is. The Chargers have added a lot of DBs to this group that are really good at tracking and coming down with those interceptions. So I'm going to give this one a grade of a B. Pretty decent to me, and maybe we do see him on the practice squad this summer. Finally, to wrap this video up, that's going to be all the Chargers undrafted free agents. Again, let me know which ones that you guys like a lot. My bottom line here is that we really don't know who might emerge as the shocking, undrafted free agent standout this year. But the Chargers aren't bad, right? And the candidates aren't bad. And the Chargers are very, very good at getting these guys at a very good value after the draft. So my guess is at least one of these players makes it on the final roster, and maybe they challenge for a backup role, right? Much like Amin Ogbongbemiga last season. I think there's a chance that we see something like that this year. So if I had to make my guess, my favorite candidate would probably be, let's go back here just a little bit of ways. Probably this guy, right? Eric Kroman. I'm extremely on board with the Chargers' efforts to improve their run game, specifically in terms of power. And adding a nice tight end, that can block, can oftentimes go overlooked in my opinion, but man, can they make a difference for guys like Isaiah Spiller, for example. And we already got a guy, in Zion Johnson who's going to, definitely contribute on those lines as well. So I like it a lot, man. Blocking tight ends, very underrated, and this guy seemed pretty nice to me. I also really liked Letty Brown a lot. The dude has a lot of potential, in my opinion, to take a backup role on this team, maybe even stealing running back 3 from right under Larry Roundtree's nose. I still think Larry Roundtree is good and deserves some time, but man, Letty Brown to me definitely stands out as a nice addition in terms of undrafted free agents. He just looks great. And finally, I really did love Tariq Maddix Williams as well. The Chargers are thin at linebacker, and he looks like he could carry some nice pass coverage skills to the Chargers roster if he can clean up some mistakes. So let me know what you guys think. Of the guys that I listed, who do you like the most? Who's your favorite undrafted free agent to potentially make the roster via backup or whatever? Let me know some of your favorite guys guys from this list. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. Make sure to check out the grades for the actual draft as well. That just creates so much hype in me in terms of the potential for the Chargers in 2022. This team is looking very complete and very nice and very exciting. Make sure to check that video out as well. Thank you guys so much for joining me. This has been the Director. I am going to be absent maybe tomorrow and the next day. Happy May the 4th to everybody out there, which also happens to be my birthday. So we're going to be out celebrating, in a galaxy far, far away. But we will be back here shortly in the next couple of days likely. So again, thank you guys so much for joining me. This has been the Director. We'll see you next time. And as always, bolt up and stay frosty. Yeah, man. Some nice candidates here. I got some hope.